Most people trust the badge on the grille more than the data behind it. Consumer Reports tells a colder story. When the same failures repeat in owner surveys, when the same symptoms show up year after year, and when the same repair bills follow, popularity stops meaning protection. In this video, we're exposing 7 Ford models buyers quietly stopped trusting and the mechanical patterns behind those numbers. This is a practical breakdown, not a rant. Watch till the end because the last on our list ties everything together into one rule that can save you thousands. Number 7, Ford Focus. A compact sedan promising efficiency and value should not become a reliability cautionary tale. Yet owner surveys repeatedly push this small Ford toward the bottom of its class. Transmission complaints stacked up year after year, reshaping its reputation from practical commuter to one of the most criticized compact cars in Consumer Reports data. The core mistake many buyers made was assuming a well-known nameplate guaranteed long-term durability. Sales were strong. The reputation felt safe. The data told a different story. At the center of the problem sits the PowerShift dual-clutch transmission. Unlike a traditional automatic with a torque converter, this system uses dry clutch packs controlled electronically. In heavy traffic and daily stop-and-go driving, those dry clutches generate heat and wear prematurely. The transmission control module attempts to compensate, creating shuddering, hesitation, and abrupt engagement. Consumer Reports consistently cited transmission trouble spots and owner complaints stacked up year after year. Drivers often describe the same symptoms: jerking when pulling away from a stop, delayed response when shifting into drive, or a grinding sensation at low speeds. Warning lights may flash intermittently only to disappear until the next episode. Plugging in a scan tool frequently reveals stored transmission codes or excessive clutch slip values long before complete failure. Those early signals matter. Financially, the difference between early attention and prolonged denial is significant. Replacing worn clutch components can run around $1,800. If the issue progresses, a more extensive repair or transmission replacement can climb to $3,500 or even $4,500. For a compact car with modest resale value, that equation becomes painful. There is one important exception: manual transmission versions of the same Focus. Avoid the dual clutch design entirely and do not suffer the same pattern of failures. Reliability ratings for those trims are notably stronger. Even so, the automatic models drag the overall perception of the car downward. The unsettling part is that this transmission experiment did not stop with one model, and what appears in the next position follows a strikingly similar pattern. Number 6, Ford Fiesta. Affordable transportation is supposed to reduce stress, not multiply repair invoices. Instead, this subcompact developed a reputation for jerky acceleration and repeated transmission complaints that showed up clearly in reliability surveys. Consumer Reports consistently recorded below average scores, proving that low sticker prices do not guarantee low ownership costs. Owner survey data consistently placed the Fiesta near the bottom of its class for transmission reliability, and those low marks followed it for years. The mistake buyers made was assuming a small, inexpensive car would automatically mean simple engineering and low long-term risk. In reality, the Fiesta inherited the same troubled PowerShift dual-clutch transmission that damaged the Focus. The mechanical weakness mirrors what Consumer Reports repeatedly highlighted. Instead of using a conventional automatic, Ford installed a dry dual-clutch system designed to improve fuel economy. In daily driving, especially in traffic, those dry clutches overheat and wear prematurely. The transmission control module attempts to smooth engagement, but the result is often hesitation, harsh shifting, or a sudden lurch forward. Owner complaints reflected these issues clearly, which is why reliability scores stayed suppressed across multiple model years. Symptoms are difficult to ignore once they begin. Drivers report shuddering when accelerating from a stop, delayed movement after shifting into drive, and unpredictable gear changes at low speeds. Some vehicles display warning messages tied to transmission faults, only for the problem to return weeks later. A scan tool often reveals stored transmission control codes, even when the dashboard looks calm. Consumer reports captured these patterns through consistent negative survey responses. Financial consequences reinforce the worst model label. Replacing clutch components can cost around $2,000. Repeated failures or deeper transmission repairs can push expenses toward $3,500 for a vehicle that may be worth under $5,000 on the used market. That repair to value ratio becomes difficult to justify. There is an important exception. Manual transmission versions of the Fiesta avoid the dual clutch design and generally earn far better reliability marks. Unfortunately, the automatic models dominate the used market and shape the car's overall reputation. The transmission story does not end with small cars, and the financial stakes grow much larger as we move up the size ladder. Number 5, Ford Explorer. Family-friendly, spacious, and trusted by thousands of buyers, this mid-size SUV looked like a safe long-term bet. Consumer Reports owner feedback told a more cautious story. Engine-related concerns appeared often enough to drag reliability ratings downward, challenging the belief that popularity automatically equals durability. Buyers assumed that a popular, best-selling family SUV would naturally deliver long-term dependability. The data told a more complicated story. The core issue centers on an internal water pump driven by the timing chain. In many vehicles, a failing water pump simply leaks coolant externally, leaving a visible trail. In this Explorer design, when the pump seal deteriorates, coolant can leak directly into the engine oil. Once coolant contaminates oil, lubrication breaks down. Bearings begin to wear, internal components overheat, and catastrophic engine damage becomes possible. Consumer Reports consistently noted engine-related complaints in its reliability charts, and owner experiences reinforce the pattern. A slow drop in coolant level without an obvious leak is the first clue. Some drivers notice overheating, a sweet odor from the exhaust, or a milky residue under the oil cap. That creamy buildup signals coolant mixing with oil. A cooling system pressure test can help detect internal leakage before total failure occurs, and checking oil condition regularly can reveal early warning signs. Financially, the contrast between prevention and delay is sharp. Replacing the internal water pump before failure can cost roughly $2,500 due to labor intensity. Waiting until bearings fail and the engine seizes can push the bill to $6,000 or even $8,000 for a replacement engine. For many owners, that expense exceeds the vehicle's market value. There is an exception worth acknowledging. Not every 3.5-liter Explorer experiences catastrophic failure, and some later revisions improved certain sealing components. Even so, the design itself leaves little margin for neglect, which is why reliability ratings remained inconsistent across those years. Cooling system concerns did not stop with this model, and the next entry shows how similar engineering choices affected a smaller crossover in an even more unsettling way. Number 4, Ford Escape. Efficiency and turbocharged performance made this crossover feel modern and forward-thinking. Unfortunately, survey data revealed recurring engine issues serious enough to damage its standing in reliability rankings. Consumer Reports repeatedly highlighted trouble spots that transformed a practical daily driver into one of the more debated choices in its segment. In Consumer Reports owner surveys, however, these model years drew repeated engine reliability complaints that dragged their overall scores downward. Buyers expected efficiency and modern engineering. What many experienced instead was a pattern serious enough to place these escapes among the least dependable in their class during certain years. The central problem was coolant intrusion into the cylinders. In affected engines, flaws in the block design allowed coolant to seep into the combustion chamber. Once that happens, combustion pressure worsens the breach. The mixture of coolant and fuel disrupts ignition, causes misfires, and in severe cases leads to hydrolock or internal engine damage. Consumer Reports highlighted engine trouble spots for these years, reflecting owner frustration with repeated repairs and premature failures. Drivers often first notice unexplained coolant loss without a visible leak, a rough idle on cold start, intermittent misfire codes, or white smoke from the exhaust are common warning signs. Removing a spark plug may reveal a steam clean tip, suggesting coolant exposure. A compression test or leak down test serves as a practical diagnostic step, helping confirm whether coolant has entered the cylinder before catastrophic failure occurs. The financial gap between early awareness and late discovery can be dramatic. A diagnostic inspection might cost around $200. Ignoring symptoms until the engine fails can lead to a $4,000 to $7,000 replacement. For a compact crossover whose resale value may sit well below $10,000, that repair can exceed half the vehicle's worth. There is an important exception. The naturally aspirated 2.5-liter version of the Escape does not share this specific coolant intrusion pattern and generally earned stronger reliability marks. Unfortunately, the turbocharged models heavily influenced overall perceptions. If coolant contamination unsettled owners in a crossover, the reaction becomes even more intense when similar concerns appear in the country's best-selling truck. If you value clear, data-driven breakdowns that protect your money long-term, make sure you're subscribed. The next sections reveal deeper design patterns most buyers never connect, and you'll want those insights before making your next decision. Number 3, Ford F-150. Few vehicles carry as much pride as a full-size pickup built for work and longevity. Even so, owner surveys expose mechanical concerns that dented its reliability image. Consumer Reports ratings reflected issues that surprised loyal buyers, proving that reputation alone cannot shield a vehicle from critical data. Specifically, certain 2011 through 2014 EcoBoost models in early 10-speed automatic years drew enough negative owner feedback to affect their reliability standing in Consumer Reports surveys. For a truck long associated with durability, seeing below average marks in engine and transmission categories caught many buyers off guard. Sales remained high, yet the survey data painted a more complicated picture. The issues were not cosmetic. Early 3.5-liter EcoBoost engines developed recurring cam phaser problems. These components rely on stable oil pressure to adjust valve timing. When tolerances wear or oil flow fluctuates, a distinct rattle often appears during cold starts. Over time, improper valve timing can affect performance and longevity. Direct fuel injection also contributes to carbon buildup on intake valves, reducing airflow and efficiency. In later years, some owners reported harsh or inconsistent shifting from early versions of the 10-speed automatic transmission. A brief metallic rattle at startup, hesitation under acceleration, rough idle or uneven gear changes are common signs. A scan tool may reveal timing-related codes, while a visual inspection using a bore scope can show carbon accumulation inside intake ports. Consumer Reports owner surveys reflected frustration in these areas, contributing to lower predicted reliability scores for certain configurations. Financially, the difference between maintenance and major repair is significant. Addressing carbon buildup or early cam phaser wear might cost a few $100s if caught promptly. Ignoring persistent rattle or transmission behavior can escalate into repairs, ranging from $2,500 to $6,000, depending on the scope of work. For a truck often purchased at a premium price, those numbers sting. There is an important nuance. Not every EcoBoost or 10-speed truck suffers severe issues, and later revisions improved some components. Even so, survey patterns were strong enough to influence reliability rankings. If reliability concerns can dent a flagship pickup, the crossover that follows reveals how compounded engine issues can impact everyday family transportation. Number 2, Ford Edge. Positioned as a balanced midsize crossover, this model was supposed to blend comfort, power, and everyday practicality. Yet reliability surveys captured engine and system complaints that steadily eroded confidence. Consumer reports consistently marked certain years below average, reshaping how cautious buyers evaluated long-term ownership risks. In Consumer Reports owner surveys, certain model years showed below-average reliability ratings, driven largely by engine and electrical trouble spots. Buyers often viewed the Edge as a safe middle ground between a compact crossover and a full-size SUV. The data suggested that assumption did not always hold up. The primary concern once again involved coolant intrusion in specific 2.0-liter EcoBoost configurations. Similar to patterns seen in other Ford models, flaws in block design allowed coolant to seep into the combustion chamber. That intrusion disrupts combustion, triggers misfires, and in severe cases leads to internal engine damage. Consumer Reports flagged engine reliability in affected years, reflecting repeated owner complaints about unexplained coolant loss and premature repairs. Compounding the issue, some Edges also experienced brake booster and electrical problems that further reduced confidence. Owners frequently reported symptoms such as rough idle, sudden drops in coolant level without visible leaks, white exhaust smoke, or warning lights tied to misfire codes. A cooling system pressure test can reveal internal leaks before they become catastrophic. A scan tool often confirms cylinder-specific misfires or related fault codes. These diagnostic cues appeared repeatedly in survey feedback, influencing the model's reliability standing. The financial contrast remains sharp. A cooling system inspection and diagnostic work might cost around $300. Waiting until internal damage occurs can result in repair bills between $3,500 and $6,500, especially if engine replacement becomes necessary. For a vehicle whose resale value may hover near $10,000, that ratio is difficult to ignore. There is an exception worth noting. Naturally aspirated engine variants in certain trims did not display the same coolant intrusion pattern and generally earned stronger reliability marks. Unfortunately, the turbocharged model shaped overall survey impressions. With recurring engine concerns across multiple vehicles, one final model illustrates how the most severe version of this design flaw can turn an everyday sedan into a financial liability almost overnight. Number 1, Ford Fusion. Sleek styling and turbocharged efficiency gave this midsize sedan an aura of smart, modern engineering. Beneath that appeal, Consumer Reports owner data revealed an engine flaw significant enough to push reliability scores into troubling territory. What looked like a practical investment quietly became one of the most financially risky choices in its class. Consumer Reports owner surveys repeatedly highlighted engine trouble in specific years, and those patterns were strong enough to drag predicted reliability into below-average territory. Buyers were drawn to the Fusion for its sleek styling, strong fuel economy, and turbocharged performance. The numbers told a harsher story once long-term ownership began. The underlying issue was coolant intrusion tied to certain block designs. small fractures, or weaknesses between coolant passages and cylinder walls allowed coolant to enter the combustion chamber. Once that breach occurs, combustion pressure forces coolant deeper into places it does not belong. Misfires begin. White exhaust smoke appears. In more severe cases, the engine can hydrolock, bending connecting rods or damaging pistons. Consumer Reports documented owner complaints about engine failures and major repairs, reinforcing the car's low reliability, standing in affected years. A rough idle on cold start, unexplained coolant loss, or intermittent misfire codes often precede more dramatic failure. Removing a spark plug may reveal a steam-cleaned appearance, a clue that coolant has entered the cylinder. A compression or leak down test provides clearer confirmation. Those diagnostic steps can identify trouble before total engine loss. Yet survey data shows many owners encountered expensive outcomes regardless. The financial difference between early detection and full failure is significant. An inspection might cost around $150. An engine replacement can range from $5,000 to $8,000, sometimes exceeding the car's resale value entirely. For a midsize sedan marketed as practical and affordable, that contrast reshaped ownership expectations. There is one meaningful exception. Hybrid versions of the Fusion use a different powertrain architecture and are largely unaffected by this coolant intrusion pattern. Even so, the EcoBoost variants influenced overall reliability scores heavily. When Consumer Reports repeatedly flags engine failure in a mainstream sedan, it underscores a broader lesson about how design decisions can quietly redefine what dependable really means. Reliability isn't about loyalty, it's about patterns. What you saw today wasn't random. It was the same design choices showing up in different places with the same expensive outcomes. If this breakdown helped you spot those traps before they hit your wallet, hit like so more people find it and subscribe for what's coming next. I also want to hear your experience comment. Which of these surprised you, or which one you've dealt with firsthand? In the next video, we're shifting from failures to hidden advantages, small, overlooked controls and settings that make daily driving easier, smarter, and a lot less frustrating once you know they're there.